Hey y'all, it is Tasha. I am back with another video. Thank you so much for stopping into my channel. Y'all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go ahead, do it. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. We're going to jump into this episode of Married at First Sight. We are at season 11, episode 12, where now the couples have been married for a full-on month, y'all. We 12 episodes in and it's only been a month. Phew, child. Okay, we just gonna jump right in. Got my notes here all ready to go, so let's get started. So episode opens up with Woody and Amani. They just so stinking cute. Like, I can't even stand how cute they are. But he is cooking breakfast, and that seems to be the trend with him. He seems to enjoy cooking breakfast and cooking meals for them. So she wakes up, he's cooking. She goes in the fridge to get some stuff to make them some mimosas, and she finds some flowers in there for her. All right, so as they're getting ready to eat breakfast, Amani whips out her computer, and they're starting to actually look at the budget to combine their finances and see what things looks like in terms of, you know, bills, car, rent, all those lovely things. And then they start talking about kind of like going on date nights and wardrobe, shopping budget, and things like that. And Woody is like, he wants to spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars a month for date night. He wants to spend $500 to $1,000 on shopping a month. And then Woody's like, Amani's like, sir, that's crazy. We can go to the movies and that's a cheap date. And we gonna have to figure out this clothes situation, which I'm like, yeah, girl, because you shouldn't need that many clothes. You're not a celebrity, Woody, that people can't see you in the same clothes more than once. Okay, sir? That's not necessary. All right, now we gone past that. Next up is Olivia and Brett. So we see them, and things are still a little bit tense with them from last episode, you know, where they kind of, you know, got into it a bit and he called her insecure and all that good stuff. Yeah, that. So they decide that they do need to talk to Pastor Cal, well, more so Olivia than Brett, decides that they are going to talk to Pastor Cal about the argument they had in regards to Brett acting differently when the cameras are on versus when the cameras are off and it's just them alone. So I have to say I was a little surprised about the off-camera footage that they showed with, you know, him laying on her lap and asking for a kiss and she giving it to him, you know, her sitting in his lap and kind of being real playful. I was like, okay, because we don't really see this side. So I'm starting to think, is there something to what she is saying, that he acts a bit differently on camera than he is off camera? I don't know, but I was a little bit, you know, shocked that they were so intimate because, you know, on camera he looks like a jerk 80 to 90% of the time. So, hey, you know, but I want to believe this episode with them talking to Pastor Cal and doing everything. I truly wanted to believe that Brent is being sincere in what he's saying because he's now kind of repeated these things more than once. I feel like, you know, if you're a liar, it's harder to keep up with the lie and facade than it is just to be honest. So I'm like, I'm toying with, I don't know if he's being sincere because it's hard to judge. Again, when you're a jerk 80% of the time, how am I supposed to believe the other 20% when I feel like you maybe are being genuine? But, you know, I don't know. But she shares that his words really cut deep. And, you know, him calling her naive and insecure, I just think that's not cool. Like, it's one thing to kind of be honest and upfront with somebody, and it's just another thing to just be cutthroat and nasty. And I feel like he's on that side because of the choice of words that he uses of insecure and naive. Like that kind of takes somebody to their core of who they are for you to say things like that. And I mean, that ain't cool, Brent. That ain't cool. But he says that she can come off mean, how she talks can come off mean. And she says that, of course, she doesn't mean to come off mean, but she feels like because he is so strong that she has to be really firm in what she is saying or that he would squash her. So in this instance, I understand 100% both sides of what they're coming from, of him saying, you know, how she say things can be mean, because I feel like, you know, she's probably said or did some looks as well that can be looked at as, okay. it may be played into him being a jerk. Not that he's not old enough to be able to control himself and be able to not be a jerk. But I get that it's like a tit for tat or like an alpha. They're just trying to one up each other each time they have a conversation or something. So I get it. And then I get what he's saying. If he feels like it's like a catch-22 with her, she always says he's not being genuine, and then he says that he is being genuine, and when he says he's being genuine, how it then just comes off as being disingenuous in the situation. So it's like, yeah, Brent, I'm gonna give you a little bit of leeway here, because it's like it's a lose-lose situation until y'all get this communication really down pat with the two of you. It's really gonna be a butt heads and really not understanding each other. So we'll see after this week how they do it, but okay. Next, we see Bennett meet up with his sister. Again, we haven't seen her since, I believe, like the day after the wedding when Amelia went out with his family for like brunch or something. And man, this child, like we already thought Bennett and Amelia, they have their own little weirdness going on, but this child is weird, honey. Weird. Oh my God. Like did she show up to their brunch with a duck, a big ass stuffed duck? She showed up. And then when they did like a mini confessional with her, she had the duck and covered the duck ears as if the duck could hear her. Ciao. Okay. But anyway, she brings her tarot cards and she tells, she kind of asks Bennett, you know, how things are going. And she's like, wait, I have my tarot cards. I can basically tell you how things are going. So she started, you know, looking at the cards and reading some things. And homegirl basically said he is too happy in his relationship and he should try not to be so happy. And Bennett kind of looked at her like, I'm not fooling with your antics today, sister. I'm not doing it with you today. Because I was like, what? Who tells their sibling not to be as happy? But then she does ask him if he's in love with her, and he says that maybe. And at first her face looked like she was a little bit worried, like he was falling in love so quickly. And then she turned around and kind of immediately said, yeah, her tarot card said that they'll be together for many, many, many lifetimes and that they'll love each other. And I really do hope he falls in love with her. So I was like, okay, you flipped it around, but you are weird, child. You are weird. They have the weirdest brother-sister relationship. She almost makes Bennett look real normal. But yeah, interesting to say the least. We see Karen and Miles. They are in the park and then they play Two Truths and a Lie. And of course, Miles puts a bet to just about anything he can to try to get probably some affection or whatever out of Karen. And Miles says that the loser has to do a dare. So they go back and forth with two lies and a truth, and Miles ends up winning the game. And the dare was to get tattoos, which she was like, you just wanted to do that. I'm like, Karen, whatever. But he said that she had mentioned wanting to get a tattoo. You just didn't know what yet. So he just kind of made the dare of, you can, you know, have some time to decide and then we'll go get the tattoos. So that was interesting for them because that's, for me, I feel like that's the most relaxed and entertaining we've seen them two interact together. Although it was still a little bit of Karen being a little nervous and also her kind of Two Truths and a Lie was like, it reminded me last season of Iris' whole story of swallowing the quarter or whatever. It brought me back there of like, you're not even making this interesting. That's why Miles won, but whatever, Karen. I guess you trying. Henry's friend Kristen then comes over to catch up with him to see how it's going on. I just have to be cautious in Christina, not his wife, his best friend. And he tells her that Christina said a deal breaker was the confidence, so he shared that. And she basically kind of had the same question or kind of inferred the same thing that I said last week of, I'm wondering if she only said that because he had brought up that the impatience was a deal breaker for him, so she felt like she needed to have some type of deal breaker and wasn't sure if she was being genuine in that. So Kristen girl, we here. I felt the same way about Christina when she said that. And then she says that she sees the differences between them because then we see some footage from that we didn't see the first time when they had their little housewarming, and then we saw Christina interacting with production, and they flashed back some of that where she was kind of, again, being real nasty to production, and Kristen noted that. So she feels like, of course, that they're different, but she isn't sure if their differences complement each other. And I 100% agree. When she said that, I was like, that is spot on, because that's exactly how I feel with them. Of opposites attract, but opposites attract to an extent of, are y'all just too different, and you're just at the age where you're no longer, I don't want to say willing, but maybe no longer interested in compromising so much of yourself, because you're so rooted and grounded in who you are, that I don't know if that would, you know, work for them. But I don't know. It was a really good conversation between the two of them, and I really enjoyed her being really honest with him and kind of probing those questions of kind of what she thought, so that he could think about that a little bit more. We then see Olivia and Brent. They're reflecting on their conversation with Pastor Cal. And then she asks that, you know, when they're having their disagreements or whatever, if he can try not to be sarcastic because it comes off as mean. And she knows that from what he said of it seeming like she's coming off as mean, it just makes them more defensive with one another. So like I kind of said earlier, it's like a tit for tat situation of, you're going to do this, I'm going to go here, you go here, I'm going to go here. And it just keeps leveling up, which is not good in any type of relationship. So they're both going to be working on, you know, limiting the sarcasm, and then her not coming off as mean. Brent did say, you know, that's how he is with sarcasm. So at this point, because him and his family have this banter, he's not always even realizing he's being sarcastic. So he did ask her to call him out on it, because he may not be realizing it. So I'm like, be careful what you ask for, because if she starts calling you out on it and then you don't like it, you asked for it. You asked for it. So they did make some progress this episode with communication. Do I still think they gonna make it? No. We see Amani and Woody and Miles and Karen. They meet up for dinner and drinks. I just love it when they get together. I feel like Karen is a whole lot more relaxed when she's around Amani. I think some of that energy that Amani puts off feeds off into her, and she just becomes she becomes so much more easygoing when she's around those two. But Woody just starts raving about, he's just so excited about the small things, like, dog, I done worked all day and I come home, you know, dinner, everything ready. All I gotta do is wash my hands and I'm eating. I'm like, what you need from me? What I gotta do? What you want me to rub your feet? Like, he'll do anything for her because she could. So funny. Miles asked them, the group as a whole, you know, what have they learned about themselves throughout this process so far? And Amani and Woody both say that they've learned patience, that they know that they do have the opportunity to be more patient with other people and also themselves. And then Karen says that she's learned that she can be hard to read. And then Miles basically, kind of from what I gather, realizes that he needs those words of affirmation from her, because he kind of brought back how she told, you know, Dr. Viviana that she was attracted to him and things like that, but that was not things that she had shared with him, and he would have had no idea of how she felt without her saying anything. So I took that as he figured that for himself, he needs words of affirmation from her. So it was good. I like them two together when they get together with somebody else. So we see Christina's annoying friend Chris then come over to their house. Y'all remember Chris from the housewarming who was like getting all into Henry? Yeah, him. So he comes over and they catch up, and Christina kind of complains about how they haven't had sex yet, and she knows that he moves slow and everything. And I'm just like, Christina, he barely can communicate well with you. I don't think y'all really done a whole bunch of other areas of affection, even like kissing, cuddling, hugging. So I don't know how you expect to jump from nothing to sex. And of course, we know that she's just kind of down for whatever Henry kind of puts out there. So if he does initiate, she'll go with it. But I'm like, you know, he's not going to initiate. So what you gonna do about it? And I think a little bit of him, because she had brought on so much of that impatience very early on, that now he had probably gotten cut off and unattracted to her, and now he's trying to have to work the attraction back up because of that behavior that had happened early on. So I don't think he's going to be initiating sex anytime soon, but I want her just to try. Like, if you feel like you want to and you would be down for it, then girl, you put the move on him. That's simple. You put yourself out there and see what happens. She's just so used to guys just fawning all over her that I don't feel like she can even remove herself out of that. So even where she says, he's so quiet, he's so reserved, it takes so much, he's not, you know, confident enough. She, on the other hand, is also not trying to come out of her box of, I know I'm used to X type of guy. He's not that type of guy, but what are my needs and what can I do to, you know, get my needs met as well, maybe to meet us halfway. So I think she needs to initiate it as well. Like, if you feel like you want to get it down with your husband, try it. See what happened, girl. So I think she just needs to take the lead. And that was really kind of the advice that her friend gave her as well, of like, Henry is just like real timid and cautious and things like that. And she's going to have to push the envelope a bit more, really to help him come out. So Chris wasn't so much of a jerk this time. And he really, you know, talked to her level-headed and really gave her some good advice. So kudos, Chris. Bennett and Amelia go on the cutest little hike together because, you know, everything they do is cute. And he finally works up the nerve to tell her that he loves her. And I was like, oh, he had already said it earlier that, you know, he's just trying to find the right time to tell her that he loves her because he already knew that he loved her. So after he had said it, they kind of put the camera back on and said, you know, right over there, he told me that he loved me. And then Amelia said it. Then she was like, I love you too. And I was like, y'all, we've known y'all have loved each other since y'all met at the altar. Y'all are just saying it, but us as viewers, we already knew that. We already knew that since the wedding, okay? We see Miles and Karen. They are going outside at the park once again. And now I kind of see why a lot of people were doing a lot of outdoor activities, because we start seeing a little bit more of COVID starting to creep in, with Miles saying that for their anniversary, he wanted to take her out to a nice dinner, but because of COVID, he wasn't able to do that. So he was able to, he gave her like a little gift box of some random things that he felt meant a lot to him that he would like her to have. So he gave her a little note, sweet note that had some nice things in it, and then gave her this little t-shirt with all like famous black couples on it, like Claire and why am I forgetting the Huxtables? With the Huxtables on it, with Martin and Gina, you know, Sinclair and Overton, like those different sayings that were on there, so that, you know, kind of saying that that could be our love story or whatever. So he got that. She did give him a kiss on the cheek when she got that, like leaning in and give it to him. And I was like, oh shoot, look at you, Karen. Okay. So Miles did ask how she feels now that they're about a month away from decision day. And she says things have been leveling out for them a bit more and it's beginning to get more comfortable. But she kind of didn't answer the question of, you know, how she felt. And I do appreciate Miles, because Miles does ask a lot of probing questions, and that goes to really, you know, show his work that he's done on himself, work in therapy and things like that, of, you know, the work that probably he's had to do on himself of trying to pry that out of other people to get information. So he does ask really good thought-provoking questions, and I really enjoyed that. I wish Karen would balance that out a little bit more with him to actually try to engage and know each other a little bit better. Woody and Imani, we already talked about them, but you know, they said they just push each other out of their comfort zone. But why am I the only one? Why do I love it so much when Woody calls Imani Sweets? He calls her Sweets, and I'm like, that is just, I hadn't heard that nickname before, and that's just the cutest nickname that he gives her. Hey Sweets, what you doing, Sweets? Give me a kiss, Sweets. I was like, y'all so cute. So we go and we switch to Bennett and Amelia, and they're kind of doing their thing with celebrating their anniversary per se. We see Amelia's in her little fuzzy, you know, onesie, and here is Bennett walking in the door with his dress tucked in his pants. So now it's a shirt, but he walks in the door with a gift for her of a blender because he says that she, you know, likes smoothies and stuff. But Bennett, the blender don't have no bow on it. It ain't wrapped. It ain't even in a box. Where did you get this blender from? Or did you have to take everything out because you couldn't show the brand name, although we all knew it was a Ninja blender? I don't know, but I was like, did you just pick this blender up on the side of the street? And then we see that, of course, his gift to her, and then her gift to him is she wrote a song for him, and she had her harmonica and her guitar and she was able to sing the song that she had wrote for him, and it was just beautiful. She has a really beautiful voice, and I was vibing with the song, Amelia. It was so cute. But of course he fell in love with that because he had already kind of mentioned that to his sister, that he really likes those personal things that are kind of just for him. And for her to kind of do that just for him, I believe meant like so much to him. But it was so cute. So next, as we kind of start to wrap up the episode, we see that the experts have given them all their kind of 1 month gift, which they do this every season of giving the couples, you know, pictures, videos from their wedding. So we see Olivia and Brent, and they kind of reminisce and look at their video. I think for them, this was much needed for them because they have been having so many issues. I think it was needed for them to kind of see what was said at the wedding, because a lot of what they were going through was said at the wedding, of, you know, Brent's sarcasm and all that good stuff. It was said there. Can't deny it. It's on the tape. But I think they really needed it, because I really saw a breakthrough and saw them, you know, start to really smile and lean into each other a bit more as they were watching it. So that was needed for them. Woody and Imani, they flipped through their wedding album, and their pictures are absolutely gorgeous. Like, their pictures do not look like they were uncomfortable in the least with being around each other and having to, you know, kiss and kind of be intimate in those photos. And then Woody, of course, just puts the icing on the cake. And every picture that he sees of her by herself, he starts kissing it and is like, that's my wife. It's like, there you go, Woody. But he then says, I love you to her as they're kind of closing up, and says, I love you, and gives her a kiss. And then she kind of says, goes in her confessional and says, you know, that she likes it when he says that and it makes her feel good. And she's a little bit closer to the love train, but she did not say it back to him. Amelia and Bennett look through their items from their weddings, and they have their vows that are framed, so they reread their vows to each other. But can we talk about during this scene when they went to Amelia's new confessional? She had her new confessional look. That bob was everything, Amelia. You need to stick with the bob, because that was cute on you, girl. Cute. Christina and Henry flipped through their album. And Christina, girl, she starts flipping through the album, and she sees a picture, and she was like, oh, this was before we knew each other. Those were the better days, or something along those lines. And then she says, I'm just kidding. And then it goes to Henry, and he's like, you know, she sometimes says these things and she says that she's kidding, but I don't know. And I was just like, why did you say that? Like, if y'all was in a good place, like, don't take 10 steps back of saying something like that, girl. Like, just why? But I was just like, Christina being Christina. But they discuss, you know, where they are with their marriages, the ups and downs that they've had. And Christina says that she is determined to basically stop comparing him to her ex, because she's, of course, done that a lot. But she says that now she's going to stop it. So we'll see, again, if things get better between being on the meds and her stopping that. We'll see if anything gets better between the two of them. We see Karen and Miles. They look at their photo album as well, and they flash back to kind of their wedding day and all the dramatics that Karen had with finding out who Miles was ahead of time. And then they also reread their vows to one another, and it's a cute moment between the two of them. I'm on the fence with them. I don't know if they're gonna make it or not. I feel like this was a really good week for them. Like, this was the best week I feel like we've had in terms of Karen loosening it up, being a little bit more open, showing more affection to Miles. This is the most we've seen it. So if she can keep it going, I think they can stay married. But then if she reverts back, it's gonna be sketchy. Woody and Imani wrap up the episode with exchanging their gifts for one another. So earlier in the episode, we saw Woody go to a diamond store and was looking at a gift to get for her. He ended up getting some diamond earrings. So we see that he gives that to her. And then he also gives her these little coupon vouchers for things like foot massage, a date night, a bubble bath, sex in the shower, a quickie, all these things. And it's just so cute with them, because she's like, ooh, I like these. Can I cash in more than one at a time? Like, can I get a date and then, you know, come get a foot rub and then a bubble bath and then we can have sex? Can I do that all at the same time? Or is there any way for me to earn more of these vouchers? Questions that need answers. But it was so cute with their little banter back and forth. But we could tell after the foot rub, they was like, all right, cameras, get out of here, because it's time for us to be alone. Okay? But that was it for the episode this week. Next week, we see the city begin to shut down with the early signs of COVID and stay-at-home orders being in effect. So it looks like it starts to get a little bit intense between the couples, which I can only imagine because, you know, it's all cool when y'all able to hang out around each other. It's all cool when you're able to go to work and come back home and do your own thing. But then when you've only been married a month and then these stay-at-home orders come into effect and you have to be around each other 24/7, don't expect to get some conflict. So I'm excited to see how next week goes, but let's chat below. What did y'all think about the episode this week? Did y'all enjoy Karen opening up a little bit more? Do y'all feel like Brett is sincere and genuine in what he's, you know, saying and doing for Olivia? Let me know. Let's talk. Until next week, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.